Let's talk about it. Hello summoners and welcome back to another Pro Guides video. My name is Kellen and today I'm here to cover one of the hottest topics at the moment. Which roles are the strongest and which are the weakest? It's all the talk right now and we are here to spill the tea. At the end of the day, even our opinions here at Pro Guides are still subjective, so you might have a different experience or opinion, but we're going to do our best in this video to look at things objectively. Also, we're speaking about the game and the way that it feels at the moment, and things are bound to change as the game continues to develop, so keep in mind for the future. For our question of the day though, which role do you think is the strongest and which role do you think is the weakest? For us, well, we're going to tell you that now, so watch the video and find out. Are you getting ganked in your own lane? Constantly demolished? Well, don't worry because we've got you covered. Pro Guides is the #1 proven way to quickly level up your League of Legends skills. Whether you are looking for tier lists, champion guides, coaching, or courses from your favorite pro players, Pro Guides is where you'll find all of it. Even players like Nightblue, Bunnyfufu, and Loco Doco support Pro Guides, so what are you waiting for? Click the link to start improving right now, and with all that being said, let's get started. The strength of each role honestly varies between the different brackets of play. We are going to rank each role based on all 3 brackets of play, which are low elo, high elo, and professional play. For the sake of this video, low elo is going to refer from iron all the way to platinum. Yes, we know that gold and platinum is technically mid elo, but the power of each role is relatively the same from iron all the way to platinum, so we're going to group them together. High elo will refer to diamond all the way up to challenger, while professional play speaks for itself. First up, let's talk about the majority of players, your average Joes. A lot of the time we forget that the majority of players are just average, sitting in mid or low elo. For most players, the power of roles from strongest to weakest is going to be mid, top, jungle, bot, and then finally support. It should come as no surprise that mid lane is the powerhouse of all the 5 roles. It's the role in the center of the map. It's able to directly influence all the other roles, and whether it's roaming to a side lane or helping out the jungler, mid laners are going to have the most impact all game long. Across all ranks, mid laners have the most impact in their games. Nevertheless, let's talk about the specifics of low elo first. Mid laners in lower elo can really take advantage of their opponents by picking snowbally champions or ones that can punish their mistakes pretty heavily. The win rates in lower elo for mid lane champions doesn't really deviate significantly from the ones that find success in higher elo. A lot of the time, the same champions like Fizz or Diana, assassins who have a lot of agency in games, still do the same things across many different elo brackets. The champions that specifically seem to dominate lower elo are tankier champions who bring crowd control to the table. Malphite, Mordekaiser, and Swain are all picks that can dominate low ranks. By picking more forgiving champions that can win lane through brute force, players are able to accomplish the main goals of a mid laner, which is establishing lane control and then creating pressure for the rest of their team. In lower elos, it's a lot easier for players to really take advantage of their opponents when they don't understand the fundamentals of the game. Mid lane difference is real. If you have a mid laner that's winning, they'll be able to carry games whether or not they affect the rest of the map. If they decide to use their pressure to help their teammates, then their whole team will reap the benefits of their success. Even if they keep to themselves and slowly farm up solo leads, the types of champions that you can find in the mid lane have so much power to carry team fights later on into the game. Tankier picks that we mentioned, as well as assassins, are usually able to hard carry the random fights that break out, or simply make the necessary picks in order to carry and therefore win games. Oddly enough, top lane is an extremely powerful role in the lower elos. Players don't understand macro play well enough to properly allocate their resources to stop a top laner that's fed. Most importantly though, it's because of the champion pool that dominates top lane right now. Juggernauts like Sett, Garen, Darius, and Mordekaiser are all stat checking champions. Players are not able to perfectly play against these guys yet, so you'll often see them dominate their lane, skirmishes, and team fights as well. When ahead, champions like these can basically run it down their lane and keep their enemy under turret all game, and then from there they can either be the first one to join a random fight or continue to split push and win. By no means is the jungle role a weaker one in low elo. It's still extremely powerful and it has a diverse pool of champions that can find success. Ganks will be a lot easier to find, which ironically helps out farming junglers like a Master Yi or Shyvana. They can pick up free kills on top of the insane amount of gold that they can find by power farming their own jungle, and then most importantly, snowbally characters like Shaco and Sett can run rampant as they continue to destroy basically anybody when fed. Now, in lower elo, bot and support can definitely feel like they have less agency than some of the other roles. To put it nicely, it's because a lot of these champions take a ton of skill to play and unlock their full potential. Marksmen are champions that require a lot of mechanical prowess to play perfectly. They're ranged champions that deal a ton of damage, but they're also extremely fragile. Even small mistakes can lead to them getting one shot and not doing as much as they should be doing. Support as a role also requires a lot less macro play knowledge in lower elo because people just don't understand this kind of thing. Decision making and knowing where to be at the right time is how you win on support, and a lot of you guys just are not able to do it very well. If your player were to play as a bot laner in lower elo, they could easily take over the game as a smurf, but supports impact the game in ways that aren't as effective in lower elo. They would still win a lot more games if they were a support smurf, but support players will not be able to 1v9 most of the way that they can in higher elo. Next up, let's talk about high elo. In higher elos, players have a much better understanding of macro play as a whole. The roles that we see having the most impact as a result of this are the mid and jungle positions. Oftentimes they will start moving together. High elo in many ways is an imitation of pro play. Players at this caliber do everything they can to get a little bit of an edge, that way they'll do their best to mimic those who are better than them. The order of how the roles rank are mid, jungle, support, bot, and then finally top. The reason for this importance is the dragon at this level of play. Even top laners have to bend to the will of the dragon spawns and give up whatever they have going on in their own lane in order to accommodate their team. Juggernauts are still the dominant picks up in higher elo, however, players across the other four roles are going to do a much better job of dealing with them. These immobile champions come with a lot of counterplay, especially when they're pitted against more skilled players. Mid and jungle often feel like the kings and the most dominant in this high elo bracket. They can move around the map any way they want, and the metagame revolves a lot around skirmishes, controlling in the jungle, neutral objectives, and even rift scuttlers. Junglers as well as mid laners have the most impact in regards to these in-game factors, and the reason why support is number 3 is because they're also very powerful in high elo. High elo supports have a ton of agency because they get to control the lane, and then also they're more free to roam as long as their lane partner isn't running it down. Since most players know how to play safe or play in 1v2 scenarios, supports are able to play their role to their full potential. It definitely helps that they also know how to as well. Both marksmen and top laners are in a pretty rough spot in higher elo right now. They're both carry roles but can only impact their side of the map for the most part. Unlike the other 3 roles that can practically do something anywhere on the map, they are tied down to their side. We put bot laners above top laners because of the importance of the dragons. The fact that the bottom tier 1 turret doesn't receive fortification in the first 5 minutes of the game, and the fact that it definitely feels like top laners are oftentimes trying to play around their bot lane anyway. Top laners will run teleport in most of their games, if not every single game, and that's usually because they need to be ready to join their teammates in the bottom lane around the dragon. It's not that Rift Herald is just completely useless, because it is important, but in this current state of the game, a winning top laner is just going to try to extend their lead to either the mid or the bottom lane. You'll often see them roam bottom after taking first turret, or ditch their lane entirely to get there for a dragon fight. It comes to show that their priorities often don't lie with themselves, but instead with the rest of their team, and this is pretty well illustrated by the recent dominance of top lane picks like Soraka and Sona, who neutralize their own lane and exist for their teammates later on. Now for pro play. You really have to take all of this with a grain of salt. The players here are elite. They are all understanding every nuance of the game and have great, if not amazing, mechanics. Even though we're going to rank the roles here, you have to know that the differences between each role are practically insignificant. What matters more than the difference in the impact of the roles is the difference in specific professional players that can make the change in those games. It really just comes down to better player wins here, and that's why competitive is so interesting. In professional play, yet again, mid lane holds the most importance. However, here it's also because of how they're able to carry team fights. The types of champions that are prevalent in the mid lane are often ones that deal a ton of damage and have heavy influence in certain ways. Whether it's game-changing Orianna ultimates, melting teams with Azir, or one-shotting carries as Zoe, mid laners do a lot aside from just impacting the map and the early game. Supports also hold a ton of influence in professional play. Oftentimes supports are the ones that need to shot call, they play a major part in teams' decisions, and they also keep track of various timers or objectives. The difference that support players make in professional play is practically immeasurable. Vision is crucial at the professional level, and you cannot deny that supports are the ones that have to work the most around it. Next up are bot laners. While they do still have the problem of being stuck down in their own lane, pro players are usually able to take advantage of the marksman role to its full potential. They are the ones that more often than not are leading their team in the damage charts, and they're able to carry more than their own weight when things don't go their way in the early game. Mechanical skill is paramount in this role, as marksmen are the ones that need to survive in the end of fights if a game is to progress. They take turrets the fastest and also clear neutral objectives equally as fast, so without them the game is significantly harder, and you can feel the impact that their champions have with the respect that they demand as well. Once again, even though we've listed jungle and top as the bottom two roles in professional play, they of course still heavily impact professional games. Just take a look at the Shy. Junglers do play much more of a supportive role in competitive play. Sometimes they'll have to adjust their pathing and give up farm to either avoid wards or to hover over their teammates who are in dangerous lane states. Ultimately, they have to sacrifice more than they would in solo queue, so they end up a little bit weaker in terms of champion power. However, they still continue to impact the game with their ganks, their presence, and control over objectives. A good old Baron Smite steal can literally turn a loss into a win, and everyone still acknowledges great plays by them. Finally, in pro play, top laners get to do a lot more than high elo solo queue. With the elite level of macro play and the fact that everyone is on communications, it's really essential that everybody is going to be on the same page. There's going to be a lot less flubs, way less random teamfights that force you to use your TP in an unfavorable way, and more often than not, you're going to get a good amount of resources allocated to the top lane. Other players know how to properly support their top laners when they're ahead, and they can then pressure the rest of the map and allow them to extend their leads. Skill difference in the top lane is much more noticeable, as they're able to confidently push up for solo plays they wouldn't be able to do otherwise. Whether it's coordinating a good flank with the rest of their team, or going for solo kills in side lanes, top laners and pro play have way more opportunity to thrive, and that's why you still see the role dominate. Anyway, that's going to conclude today's video. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Make sure that if you haven't already, go check out ProGuides.com, as well as subscribe to our YouTube channel to receive updates. We are always uploading new content focused on improving your gameplay, so go check it out. And also make sure to leave any feedback or comments down below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the Rift.